All right. How am I going to do this? There we go. Is that right? I think that's right. Screen sharing the correct thing. Excellent, brilliant, beautiful, fantastic, top notch. Can't get any better. All right, we're going to do some sketching. I'm going to do some sketching, and I thought it would be nice to do it with the potential for people. You know, the pressure's on. The pressure is an important thing, I think, because there's a good reason for it, and let me tell you what that reason is. Just the pressure. Fuck. The pressure is, you know, you need, I think, to be motivated to perform. And I find I'm usually not. Usually I'm sort of rushing through my sketches, and it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way, because you rush through and you're like, well, you know, yeah, I've done a lot of sketches, but I hate all of them, which then just frustrates you further and makes you not want to work hard on the next one, and then you don't work hard on the next one, and it sucks, and you're like, oh, for goodness sake. Speaking of for goodness sake, why is the eraser doing that? Why is the brush the eraser? Oh, we're learning. Learning is occurring. Okay, so there's two squares here. This one is the brush. This one is the eraser. The eraser is currently set to gray, so I want to set it to white. Not racist, but anyway, here we go. So I've never actually done any live sketching before, but I think the pressure will be useful, and the pressure will be useful for me because it will force me to actually slow down, talk through what I'm drawing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why is there no brush sensitivity? Ah, there is. I'm just immediate. Okay. So by drawing in front of people, and I found this with my art tutor as well, by drawing in front of people, or even just having the capacity to be in front of people. So like, chances are not many people will tune in and have a look, but by drawing with the potential for an audience, I actually have to slow down and do something decent. And at the very least, I can explain my learning process and how I approach drawing something new, learning something new, using references, all that jazz. And because I actually have to explain it, it means that I'm more likely to take the time to do it right. Or at least that's thinking coming into this. I don't really know what I'm drawing right now. I need to warm up. I think it's important to warm up. Just not placing any impetus. I don't know the right word right now because I've never drawn and spoken at the same time. Very challenging. It's important not to come in with an expectation when you're warming up. You know, when you're stretching at the gym, you don't expect to perform. That's a terrible analogy. What the fuck am I saying? Yeah, so you want to warm up with something that you're not judging. That I think is very important. And too often, myself included, you know, people in general, let me reframe that. People in general, myself included, much better, will sort of jump in and try to create art when they're warming up. And that's a terrible idea. That's an awful, awful idea. That's a stupid idea. Stop doing that. Sorry, I got a bit angry there. But yeah, I don't think that's a good plan, because you shouldn't combine performance and practice. You know, if you are practicing, don't try to create perfect pieces. And it sounds like that is counterintuitive to what I was saying before about what was I saying before? God, it's so easy to forget what you're saying. Yeah, performance versus practice. What the performance versus practice? Yeah, well, I don't know. Fuck it. But anyway, it's very easy to get caught up in trying to create good work, and as a result of trying to create good work, you don't, because there's so much pressure on you to constantly perform that you're never learning anything new, because you don't want to stuff it up. You don't want to, you know, create a bad work or be judged for something and be like, oh, well, I'm just learning how to draw cats. I don't know how to draw cats, so, you know, stop judging me. Whereas you actually need to go through a period of time of being shit at drawing cats in this analogy. And you can, that's okay. That's all right. That's part of the process. I think that's part of the process that isn't really talked about because it's not ever presented. You don't see artists presenting their work or their learning process or their failures. You see the 1% of their work, or maybe a bit more than 1%, but you'll either see the product of so many iterations, like they've drawn so many hundreds of thousands of faces that it's just natural to them, and they just are fantastic naturally, like quote unquote naturally. But what you don't see is that they didn't have that information embedded into their mind. They studied a lot of faces and practiced a lot of faces, and that's what gave them such a good visual library. They worked on it. They identified what they didn't know, and they went out and sorted it out. So even now, this is not perfect face. I understand the anatomy, but it's not coming out the way I want. Now, I should be using reference. If this was a piece, if this was actually a full drawing that I'm trying to do, I should be using reference. But I'm not, because I'm being a bit lazy. And as I said, I'm trying to warm up right now. I'm not trying to worry about the outcome. I'm not trying to make this a great drawing. I am just needing to warm my hands up. And actually, because I'm just trying to warm my hands up, I should not... Whoa! That was unintentional. Okay. Boom. Magic. So because I'm trying to warm my hands up, I should not actually be going into fine detail this quickly. You notice how I'm just noodling away at all of these bits and pieces, and it's a bad idea. I look at how much is not done. I shouldn't be doing that. Bad Graham. Naughty Graham. Let's fix that. So you want to start with a lot of big movements with the brush. You want to start with a lot of energy, and it should be fun. You know, I get so caught up in trying to create good stuff that you forget to enjoy the act of making, and that's so important. You'll make something, and the whole time you'll be thinking, you know, what's the response gonna be on whatever social media platform you use? How's it gonna look? Are people gonna like it? What can I do to make people like it more? And you forget to enjoy the act of doing it. I think that's something that we do in all areas of our life. We're so focused on the outcomes, so outcome oriented, that we don't take the time to enjoy what we're doing. Or we're constantly thinking about the next thing. You know, you go for a walk and you're already thinking, well, what do I have to do when I get home? You know, yeah, this is nice, sure, but what do I do when I get home? Well, I have to do this, that, and the other. All right, so you'll see that I filled in with gray. I think it's a very important thing to do, to fill in with a block color, just a base to work from. And it differentiates the character from the background, and it just makes them pop. And because they pop out, you can see the issues. Another great thing to do is to flip the canvas, which I think I had a key for. God, I'm using quick keys. This is dangerous. How do I do it? That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Oh God. Am I gonna? Nope. Ooh, that was interesting. Ooh. Ah, no. I don't know. But if you go to image, you go to image rotation, and you go to flip canvas horizontally is what I want. Yeah. And then you work on it like this for a little while. What I immediately notice is, oh, okay, so this jawbone is up way too high, and it looks kind of funny. And your eyes get so used to how you've been looking at things. Why is this not drawing? Okay. Why's my opacity that low? Opacity is like how visible the brush is. There we go. So see how that's so much darker? Should just be 100%, because now I can, depending on how hard I press my pen, I can change it. I am a master magician. Anyway, so I can already tell that this is an issue. Well, maybe that's too harsh. Not necessarily an issue. Some people may have jawbones that tall, really, that high. But it's not exactly what I was going for. So I'm going to change it a little bit. And that's the magic of flipping the canvas. You, in traditional work, you will often get people holding their work up to the mirror. And what it does is it just resets your eye, kind of. Your eye kind of gets used to looking at an image, and it I think begins to. I'm getting caught up in details again. It begins to take shortcuts. It's like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. It's a tree, it's a drawing, it's a chin, whatever. And so it stops paying close attention. And your brain has to do that. It has to do that in everything in order to function. You know, it can't constantly be evaluating everything and checking it again and again and again. It sees something, it makes a judgment, and then it stops and it internalizes that judgment. And so with drawing, if you're looking at a piece for however long it might be, you know, you're working on something for hours at a time, you are going to get it to a point where your brain has decided it knows what you do, like it knows what the drawing looks like, and it stops actually looking really hard. And so it actually stops noticing some of the issues with the drawing, which is bad, in case you weren't aware of that, which I'm hoping you were. So that's really not what you want. So to flip the canvas, it kind of gives your brain a bit of a bitch slap and goes, hey, pay attention. And you do. So, really not sure where I'm going with this, dude. You'll notice that I'm zooming out and in. I really should be zoomed out. At all points, you want to be zoomed out as far as you can conceivably work, because you don't want to get caught up in details. So that's another sort of strategy you can use. Graham top tips. Now, I don't know about clothing. I'm terrible with clothing. I've never researched clothing. I've never practiced clothing. And so my visual library of clothing is necessarily pretty bad, pretty poor. I can fix that by drawing on references, looking at the reference, just trying to notice as much as I can, engage my perceptual abilities, and then apply what I learn and then review. It's very similar to, I need to zoom out more. It's very similar to what you do when you did spelling back in primary school. There's that look, say, cover, right, check, look, say, cover, right, check. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. There's a process that involves those steps in some order or another. And you do that because you get exposed to the stimulus, you look at it, you try to internalize as much of the information as you can, then you leave it alone, you give it your best shot, and then you check it again and review. And then you can determine what information your brain missed. Your brain tries to take that extra information on to create a more holistic picture. And then you do it again. And you do that over and over again until your brain gets very good at replicating the thing that it saw originally. Pretty neat, huh? Now, with this, it's still a warm-up, although I'm getting pretty fixated on polishing it. But I'm trying to think, where is the light source? I still struggle with this, and I've been drawing faces for good God knows how long. And I still struggle with it because it's to do with form. It's to do with an object that turns in space, a three-dimensional, multifaceted object. It's really hard to get right. And it's especially hard to light because you have to think of light wrapping around the object. This lip is way too high. Me noticing things. Oh, you're so clever when you notice things. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in the light source. I'm having the light coming in, and it's like, bam, it's like, bam, bam. So it's like hitting there, and that's why all of this is in shadow. So what I'm doing at the moment, now that I've got a base tone, okay, if I'm going to be honest, what I'm doing at the moment is procrastinating putting fucking clothes on him, which I really don't want to do because I am not good at it. and we avoid what we are not good at. So I'm gonna get a reference. I'm going to get a reference out. God, that's hard to say. It's hard to speak when you're doing the dang thing. Absolute nonsense coming out of my mouth right now. Let's do this. Okay, I'm going to go to Pinterest because Pinterest is a phenomenal reference site for images because it's image based. And fuck you if you say it's feminine. All right. So it's just awesome. I actually want to share. I think I'm going to share my Pinterest. Going to share the screen on my Pinterest, show you guys what I'm all about. Screen share. How do we do this? Application window. Pinterest. Awesome. So Pinterest, basically, it shows you more of whatever you're into. So if you are into art and you've searched up a lot of art images, it'll show you more awesome art images. And with every image, it shows you images that are similar or images by the same artist. So you can really build a fantastic library of resources and inspiration, so long as you don't wow, my search history, shit. So long as you don't just look through things for inspiration, then you don't draw. So you can see some of the references that I have looked up. I've looked up how to draw a dinosaur, how to draw a hood when it's facing down, Red Riding Hood. I was trying to do an iteration of Red Riding Hood. Bakak person, don't know what a bakak person is, but feel free to guess. And if you guess anything that is negative or offensive, that's your fault. Slick gentleman hair is another one that I wanted to get. So I want to do clothing. I don't know what type of clothing, but he's not going to be naked, so we need to put some clothing on him. Now, let's have a look at him. Let's try to create a narrative. And it's important to know your characters. Your character can't just be some arbitrary dude. It can be when you're learning, because you're just trying to learn new skills. It doesn't have to be a character. But if you want a character to be brought to life, you have to think about their context, what kind of person they are. All of these things bleed into the details on the face, on the posture and gesture, on the clothing that they wear, and it stops being arbitrary. It's your decision making becomes more directed. So let's see on Pinterest. What am I going to search? I'm going to search. What type of clothes do I want? I want to get him in something medieval. So medieval, yep. Medieval clothing. Cool. Come on. On, Bessie. All right. Ooh, that's pretty fancy. That could work. That could work. That's a very tiny image. That's unfortunate. So what I'll do, I'll copy the image. I will go into the Photoshop. I will screen share Photoshop because it's not currently being screen shared. Screen share. Application Photoshop. Nice one. Okay. Now let me just get things happening. All right. Bit busy. Okay. I'm gonna paste the image in. How do you paste? Control V. Come on. Yeah, boys. All right. Nice and big. Yeah, I am. And then I'm going to start drawing. I've got the image that is a base. That's the kind of stuff. And there's certain details that I want to remember. So what I want to do is zoom in, have a look at this, internalize as much as I can. So what am I looking at? And I want to remember, whoops, I'm trying to save it. Okay, what am I looking at? I want to remember as much information as I can. So what I'm seeing is there's this, ooh, why is it in grayscale? Interesting. Okay, so what I'm seeing is there's this triangular shape here, followed by another triangular shape there. That's the design. I'm sorry, this is not coming out the way I was hoping, and that's okay. So, triangle, triangle. Was that the triangle I did? Well, that'll do. A lot of triangles, a lot of triangle motifs in this outfit, which is good. So, edit, step forward, good. So there's that. The collar is this rounded thing. This is frustrating. This is frustrating. Okay. Collar's round, but the collar actually goes right up to the top of the neck. There is a space here, but there's a lot of buttons either side, and there's this crisscross pattern. There's floofy sleeves. Gotta love the floofy sleeves that taper down into this point. I don't think we'll need that for this character because I'm not showing his lower half because I'm not good at the lower half. There, I admitted it. Okay. Now, I don't look at it. I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to create a new layer so that I can undo anything that I do if I choose, because I am God in this particular Photoshop session. Now, even when I'm drawing the collar, I'm thinking around the shape. I'm thinking through his neck right now. So to get the curve, I'm imagining it all the way around. Now, what was the information that there's a lot of triangles. I remember a lot of triangles, but this sleeve is kind of poofy. And maybe like that. I don't know. Not trying to get it neat, not trying to get it perfect, trying to get shapes at this point. Trying to get interesting shapes, interesting gestures. Oh, I looked at it. Damn it. I wasn't trying to, I promise. Damn it, I looked at it again. Oh, this is so hard. Okay, so let's get it going. Let's get it on. This, I don't remember. Oh, okay, I'm starting to not remember things. Let's start with bits I know. Always good to start with the bits that you're pretty sure of. Closer to the base of the neck was like the strappy strap bit. It's like a thing there. I don't know. And then I know now. Again, following the form, there's a chest here. It doesn't go straight. Doesn't go in. It goes out. There's a chest. And there were buttons. I remember the buttons on there. There are a lot of buttons on this here gown. It's not a gown, it's a shirt. Fuck it. A lot of buttons. Quite a lot of buttons. Buttons here as well. And then there was this. That's actually too far apart. But that's okay. That's okay. And there's a crisscross. Again, it's not straight lines because it's bending and bowing over a shirt, which is important to show. Must have been so uncomfortable. How long would it take? Got to lace up your boots, lace up your shirt, lace up your everything. It's got to be hard for these kids in the medieval times. I mean, they're all dead now, but it was hard. Okay, I'm just going to fill in things to differentiate them, just to break up the silhouette. Now, this has thickness. THICC, thickness. Not get down with the thickness, which is someone saying get down with the thickness with a lisp. This is wrapping around a form, but the material has thickness as well. And so you have to portray that. You have to show that actually there's thickness to the material. What do I want to happen? I know there was some like filigree or interesting stuff happening. There were like these lines, triangular motif. I don't know what's going to happen there, but let's just make it like that. Odd pose, that's okay. Gonna extend, whoops, maybe I'll use this color. Extend down the value. We call this value. I don't like that. That's covering the drawing, so I'm going to go on the layer underneath and just do that. So all of the other information's on top, and because of that, I can actually go underneath the layer and just color underneath. Isn't that funky? Isn't that cool? Beans. Amazing that I say cool beans, because I don't like Napoleon Dynamite. I didn't think it was a good movie. So here I am quoting Napoleon Dynamite. Ironically, maybe. Okay, so this is really hard. This chest, firstly, the pose is unnatural, and this is because I got into detail too quickly. Should have got the pose right before ever going into details. So I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to have his arm there. It's kind of weird looking. He looks suspicious. That's what I'm seeing right now. And again, you want to be building the narrative of your character. And this guy, I don't trust him. I don't think he's a good dude. I think he's like a noble, and he's suspicious of the motives of someone in court. Just trying to shade shadows, basic shadows. Yeah, he's suspicious of someone in court. He doesn't trust them or whatever it is, and so he's got this look like, don't trust you. And because I now know that, quote unquote, know that, I can use that information. All right, time to look at the reference again. Let's see what I got right, what I got wrong. I'm not just going to focus on wrong. I'm going to focus on all of it. So, what details? All right, I got a bit of the collar, and I can redraw it looking at the reference. So I'm actually going to redraw bits and pieces. The collar has a center part. That's important. And it doesn't actually end there. All right. Doesn't end there. Just working on the wrong layer. Very easy to do, very frustrating to fix. So the collar has these bits, for lack of a better word, around it, and then it's got the main collar in there. And so this layering is what really adds reality to, or depth. No, reality. I was right the first time. It adds a sense of realness to the drawing, because when we work from our visual library alone, when we work from our internal bank of images, they're necessarily simplified. Your brain doesn't want to hold on to that amount of information all the time. It's hard. So your brain takes shortcuts. It has to, and that's why information degrades over time. It simplifies, and it removes what it doesn't need. It's very efficient at that. And so you're going to get really simple shirts, really simple buttons, really simple collars, unless you repeatedly expose yourself to more complex ones and then draw them and really pay attention to the details. So this actually doesn't start in a straight line like I've done it. It starts slightly out, and then it goes, tapers down, tapers into closer to a point. Buttons are okay. They're all right. But I'm not a fan of the position of the buttons. You need to be closer to the seam, closer to the end of the material. I don't know what you would call that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Went a bit Hagrid there for a second. And again, this is the start. This is the plan. We're still in planning phases, really. So it's okay to just pop it in there relatively loosely. And it's got more, just by that collar in particular, it's got more weight lent to it. Get rid of these. I'm going to redo them. Because they didn't turn out the way I wanted. And I need things to turn out the way I wanted. Okay. What's up next? So there's that. The collar comes up a little bit higher, actually, than the lapel bit. Oh, yeah, I actually like this. Because it looks like he's wearing multiple bits of material. That's partly due to the thickness, again, T-H-I-T-T, thickness of the collar. And it's also due to the layering. All right, so underneath this, didn't think about underneath this. Can't really tell what it is, but it looks layered. So I'm just going to put in some, I don't know, random lines there to show that there's stuff underneath. I'm not going to do this complex pattern because I don't care enough about this drawing. Now, these do not come up like this, like Superman's, a Superman, not the Superman. A superhero's shoulder pads. They do not do that. They go out. So they're actually coming towards us. And I'm not sure how I'm going to portray that, but what I will know is it's actually going to come out a little bit. Oh, this is going to be hard to show. Well, it does follow the shoulder line. So it follows the shoulder line there. And then it kind of comes out like that. Adding the stripes might help because it'll show the direction of the thing. And then do that. It will go out a bit. Now, where does it actually? It actually tucks underneath the arm. Yeah, okay, I got that. Good. Again, there's thickness to it. So this bit really would come out that way. And it really is a lot of visual problem solving. And you will get better at that the more you practice. I'm still not very good, but that's okay. This is how we learn. Okay, this bit I kind of got right. I'm pretty pleased that I got the area right, but it actually comes out just underneath the armpit and it tapers down the side like that. And so this one's going to be a bit changed as well. So where's the armpit? About there. Goes down. Nice. And it's a very tight. It's tight as an outfit. So it comes down. Now, how big is this dude? Oh, that's probably too small. Probably got some level of torso. I really don't like this arm, and I don't know why. Well, apart from it being wrong, it's just. What is he doing with this arm? You know, it's not realistic. Maybe I will give him like a drink to hold, or I don't know what to do with this arm. Is it eating something? No. I just don't like the pose. That's okay. It's okay. Maybe we'll change some colors of things. Maybe we'll just play around, work on something else, not worry so much right now. And just doing some light shadows where there are going to be shadows. He's got man boobs, so there's shadow where the boobs are. Babbage. Yeah, I forgot about the floofy sleeves. So they're like out there. Oh, that's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. Okay, gonna again thinking around the object as much as I can. This is a more rounded shape, and because it's a more rounded shape, there's going to be a shadow under there. Because it's a more rounded shape, it has to follow that shape. So it starts there, and then it actually comes. It's going to come more around. That. Yep, that's looking better. That's looking better. What next? What am I going to do next? Just thinking about different shades to make it more interesting. Maybe we'll make this darker. The stripes will be lighter, but this entire sleeve is actually darker. Yep, cool. I like the way his... Maybe I should give him a cape. No, cape's too much. He went out that morning. Should I wear a cape? No, cape's really too much. Really is pushing it. I don't want Jemima to think I look silly. When I write her a note, it'll take 5 weeks to get to her. Suddenly this character has purpose. I like him. I kind of like him. Now, I don't like his hair. Hate his hair. Hate is a strong word. I'm not his hair's biggest fan. Okay. And you wouldn't see the corner of this mouth because it's actually a little bit far over. All right. Saber. Oh. Oh, that's devastating. What are you doing, dude? My dog has let off some wind. It is intense. I'm in the process of trying to deal with it. I feel like I'm going through the different stages of grief, just trying to process what just happened. All right, going to add some light. So again, light source is coming in this way. Where's the light going to hit? Well, the light's going to hit a bit on the top of his head here. It's going to hit, and it's really light touches. It's going to hit the bridge of his nose. Oh, that's too much white. Bridge of his nose. Hit here a little bit. Just a touch. It's going to hit the top of the collarbone. The collarbone? Really? Collarbone. Cheekbone here. This might hit a little bit there. Not as much. Going to hit all of here, probably. It really is just problem solving. Is it going to hit here? Well, yeah. I should not be zoomed in that close, so I'm just touching it in. Touching, just giving a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap it in. Tap, tap, taparoo. And now, it's none of it. I'm not doing fine details. I'm not doing all the highlights at this stage. It is way too early to start thinking about highlights. Shadows under his eyes there. It's going to be shadow here. It's going to be a shadow here. In fact, if the light's coming there, this is going to be in quite a bit of shadow. This under ridge, rather. And it's going to be a bit of shadow there. It's going to be shadow here. There's going to be some shadowing. A little bit of shadow under the lip. Be shadows all here. And you're really thinking what's completely turned away from the shadows. Well, sorry, from the light source. All of this. Eventually I'll do away with a lot of these lines. He has a really pronounced cheekbone. I was going to say collarbone again. Didn't do it. Didn't do it. So this is interesting. This is turning out interesting. Considering this was going to be the warm-up. This is interesting. Now, I need to start working on some refinement, I think. Now, this is a bit that I still struggle with because you're trying to detail something from your imagination. And that's hard to do. Better to work big, better to work on your own layer, starting out nice and zoomed out and building up and playing, pushing and pulling. Drawing really is two-dimensional sculpture. It's not about lines on a page. It's about pushing some things forward, pushing things back, pulling things forward, and rounding shapes out, making them look multidimensional, like they exist in space. I'm just tapping at the moment, and I'm just going to build up different values. I know under his neck here is going to be maybe not that dark, but it's in darkness because there might be reflected light. If he's outside, there's going to be reflected light. So it's pretty dark. This is going to be pretty dark. All of this area here going to be pretty dark. It's facing away from the light. His entire bottom lip is actually going to be facing away from the light. Bottom lip, top lip. His top lip. Only the opposite of what I said. Don't listen to me. Listen to me, but don't listen when I make a mistake. Just ignore that bit. We all fear judgment. All right. This is building up incorrectly. So that's all going to be dark. This is all going to be dark. This is going to be dark. His hair is going to be dark where it's facing away. So all of this actually is going to be dark, unless there's other lights in the space that he's in. Now, there's going to be darkness all here. And there as well. Cool. All right. I've learned something new about this shirt situation, and that's good. That is an extra piece of information that I can now add to my visual library, or at least it's been fleshed out a little bit more. What am I going to do next? I think I'm going to start actually fleshing it out. Did I say that? I think I might have said that. All right. How to do this? How to do this? How to do this? This is the tough bit. This is where it gets hard. Enough foreplay. This is where it gets hard. Love to yell that. Okay. Again, I'm zooming in. I want to zoom in, but I shouldn't. It truly is a should and shouldn't in this situation. So only one thing, the surfaces that are directly parallel to this light are going to receive the highest value. And any gradation away from that perfectly parallel surface is going to lose light or lose that brightness pretty consistently, pretty softly. So I need to show that. I need to round out these surfaces because they are roundish and show that anything away from that light source is starting to get darker and darker and darker until it fades to darkest value, which is the shadows. Notice how I'm kind of sampling. I'm actually sampling from the value. As you can see here, this is changing as I get this little eyedropper and add a little bit here, push it back again, and it's blending gradually, which is what I want. You do want changes in planes, and by planes I mean like the individual facets of the face, because there are sharpish planes as well as soft ones on the face. For example, this piece of the skull here is, you've got the eye socket and you've got the brow bone, which kind of sits on top of the eye socket, and then you've got this piece here, which leads to this is the cranium, like the side of the head. So there's actually quite a sharp bone there, and then you've got the, again, to give you some context, some nose, and then you've got the teeth here. Cool. So this is quite sharp. Not super sharp, but it is definitely not a smooth transition like I'm building it up to be. Right there. So I do need something of a sharp transition. Just kind of. Can't be too sharp. Can't be too soft. Has to be just right, Goldilocks. That's what we have to do. Same here. This cheekbone transition. It's not perfectly smooth. There is some sharpness to it. I might reduce the flow, which is the amount of paint, virtual paint, that is leaving the brush for each stroke. It just makes it easier to blend effectively. Okay. I should stay zoomed out like this because it helps me see mistakes that are happening. Going to be shadow there. Strong shadow, but there will be shadow there. How do we do this? I'm going to put the highlight in, okay? Look, I'm going to put the highlight. Well, I'm going to work on the eyes. That'll do. That'll be nice. That'll be nice. All right. So, working on the eyes. The eyelashes, we can just do with lines. And they're fairly soft, so I don't want to make it like a physical line. I kind of want to tap it in again. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo. The eye itself, depending on the color of the eyes, will depend on or that'll change the value. But I'm going to make them fairly dark because that'll stand out. Pupil, tear duct. Not going to see it on this side. Going to see it on this side though. There is an underside to the eye, which is facing away from the light. So I'm going to put that in just as a block for now. There's a shadow cast by the eyelid and by the light. So I'm going to put that in. This is a round shape, so I'm putting a shadow that is more rounded. Okay, they're looking pretty good. I'm not going to detail yet. That's why they're looking good. I'm not leaping into drawing the eye, the pupil, and all of that stuff. So now I'm going to draw the pupil. And I'm not even, you can barely see it, but it is that subtlety. That subtlety is what makes it lifelike. Now, the bit of the underside of the eye that is most opposite to the direction of the light is what's going to be the darkest, just by a touch, because it is a rounded shape. How's that looking zoomed out? Don't love it. Okay, but that's okay. This bit is actually goes around like that, and so this will be receiving some shadow as well on the top. I should not be using a small brush. I should be using a nice big brush, because a big brush is going to leave broader strokes that are easier to blend in. All right. Yep, that's good. Good. And this is directly opposed to the light, so it's really going to receive a lot of shadow. And I'm going to add in where the crease, that crease where the eyeball sits in the socket. All right. That looking. It's very dark, and the reason it looks weird is because it's such a dark value compared to all of this, which is just uniform gray. So I'm going to flesh that out. I'm going to add darker values, and then I'm going to sculpt. And that'll be good, hopefully. All right. So we've got our basic values, actually. Is there anything else I'm missing? This is not going to be catching any light under here. There is going to be light caught on there. That's all good. I'm going to do the eyebrows as well right now. So eyebrows, we want to get the block of value overall, which is like that. I kind of like this. I'm going to commit. I like this kind of expression, so I'm going to actually lower this eyebrow to kind of make him a bit. What are you looking at? All right. I'm going to blend this. Actually, I'm not going to blend it. Let's start adding some hairs in. So I've got the block of value now. Is that going to do it? No, the eyebrow should probably be a little further over. I always do this. I always put the eyes too far away from one another. That's something I need to consciously work on. That's good. That is why we're practicing. Eyebrows. This should not be this dark, I think. I think that's what's weird about it. So I'm gonna lighten most of it. And I'm gonna leave the bits that are kind of the underside of the eyebrows dark. Now, let me fill in some of this. I know a bit about how eyebrows work. I mean, I have to. I put the flow up to 100, get nice, strong strokes. So there's this kind of bit that frays out a little. You don't want to draw with lines by and large, but selective lines imply that there's more detail than meets the eye, kind of like transformers. So you do want some lines. I want every individual eyebrow, every eyebrow lash showing. But you do want some to imply more. Okay. Like going out and having pictures taken with your friends. It's like you only need a couple of friends in there, and they may be the only people that came out, but it implies more. So this is not. I know that the eyebrow turns here. The direction of the lashes, hairs, I don't know, turns there. And this, again, this goes up. So here we are. We've got the eyes. What am I going to do now? I'm going to add light. Let there be light. So I'm going to actually smooth out, just put a basic cone of paint down there, basic coat of paint, the rounded form. This is a rounded form. This is like a pouch of fat here. And so I'm going to fill it in, get the light, and I'm going to tap it. I'm going to tap it in. So which part is facing the light? Well, this is not really facing it. This top bit is going to get more light than down there, so I will put some. This top bit is actually facing away from it quite a lot. So I'm going to generally shadow that. All right. I'm going to add some light in. Now, where is the light going to hit? If it's straight on like that, it's actually going to hit around there and there. Now, you really want to be so subtle with the highlights, because those highlights, if you do it right, it is going to look glorious. But if you overdo it, it's going to look ridiculous. 2 highlights on the eyes, 2 big ones, 2 big money makers. So there's this bright spot right there. This is the lightest bit, and this is the actual reflection of whatever the light source is, whether it's the sun or a window or anything. Second bit is going to be this lower eyelid, which again has thickness, THICC thickness, and it has a rim, and this rim gets really wet. And so you want it to be light anyway, the whole thing to be light. And then you want to add, especially if the light's coming top down, and then you want, wherever the light's hitting, you want it a little bit more, you know. Like I'm just doing dots right now. And here as well, this is all, there's thickness here. But right about there, a bit of extra light. Look how much difference that makes. And I barely touched it. This tear duct might get a tiny little bit, not much, because it's not directly facing the light. It's actually kind of in shadow. And then this, again, this is a rounded form, so it's going to be darker here, being even further away from the light than it's going to be up there. This is a rounded form, turning away from the light, so it's going to get darker. It's not going to get as dark as the rest of the eye itself. And I think we're getting there with the eyes. Now this is going to fade out gradually, so I'm actually going to block that in, just put that in there, and then fade it back. Looking good. Getting something. We are getting something. Where's the light again? Okay. I'm consistently reminding myself of where the light is. This is an area where my visual library is not as strong. I know that it does this. It actually goes down like that. There's this rhythm to the face. I'm a fan of the eyes. I'm a fan of the eyes. This is not as complete stoppage as I've made it out to be. So I'm actually going to soften that and generalize it. Is a distinct plane, this end piece of fat around the eye, but I don't want it to be completely separate from the other skin around it, because it all wraps around one another. All the muscles are wrapping around all the other muscles. It's like your muscles are giving the rest of your muscles a nice big hug. Okay. Right. Cool. I am a fan of the eyes. First pass has been good. All right. Now I'm saving this one because frequent saving is important. What am I going to call it? I'm going to call it Prince, Dark Prince. Dark Prince, Dark Prince. Because I am getting a sense that this dude's nobility. This is not me creating a character. This is me learning about the character that already exists. So as I'm drawing him, it shouldn't, in my mind at least, I find it's better to think of him as already being like a fully fleshed out character in some story with his own personality and his own motives, his own story. And you are finding out about his story as you draw. It really does help me, at least, in connecting with it, in wanting to invest more time into the drawing itself, and just enjoying the process. It makes such a big difference. So I'm feeling more confident now because of that eye going well. His nose might be a little too long, actually. That's okay. People are different. That's fine. Now I'm going to generalize. I'm going to start working on the nose section. Now I know this curves. This is where the bones. This is where the bone meets the cartilage, right about here. This is facing away from the light. It's downturned. It's a plane like that. Actually, eyebrow should not be quite so extensive. I'm going to just put in. I'm just trying to blend, because this is a soft transition. This is a very soft transition. Do not want it to be too harsh. All of this is facing away from the light, and then this brow ridge is actually probably the brightest part, especially here. And it's just such a smooth transition down. I don't know. I kind of want to darken all the values just because his eyes are so dark, and I don't want to make that weird. I want to get everything a little bit darker over time, but I'm going to do that piece by piece. I'm not going to overwhelm myself. I'm not going to get distracted. If I get frustrated with a certain section, then I might work on it. I'll do it as I go. So see how, like, this is darker. This piece, definitely darker. Definitely. But it's not much darker at all. Because the nose here, the corner is just a sharp transition, this should be a completely different value. The edge of the nose here should be a completely different value to this piece, because they're entirely different angles. And I need the bulb of the nose to kind of be fleshed out a little more. How to do this? You'll notice that I zoom out a lot. I experiment a lot. It really does take time to get it right. So the moment it's not a three-dimensional shape, it's a flat nose shape. I like him having an imperfect nose. I think it's kind of appropriate for him. I'm going to start by getting the lightest color on flesh tones, which is here. I'm going to put it on the center of his nose. That is going to be receiving a lot of light, this entire section. It's not going to be a perfect line. Even though it's going to be different to this value of the side of the nose, it's not going to be that different. Is going to be different because there is a sharpness to that. To this, there is a certain sharpness. All right. I need to resolve this issue. I'm avoiding it. I'm avoiding this issue. What am I going to do? I've got to find the ball of the nose here, because there's essentially 3 balls, which is not as unusual as it sounds. Ball of the nose. All right, I'm going to start a new layer to work on the nose. I'm going to I don't have a big old fat nose. Not really. This is hard. This is hard. Okay, well, let's work on stuff that I know. This is all in shadow. This is all in shadow. It's in quite a lot of shadow. This bit especially. Because the nose is casting a shadow. The nose is casting its own shadow. There's going to be a shadow here, just in that little dimple of the nose. Sorry, I'm itching my eye. This is a process. It takes about 15 to 30 seconds. And the eye has been successfully itched. Back to the drawing. Right. This piece is going to be just generally a bit darker, because the curving away from the light. Just putting spots here and there, little markers, little notes for myself about how this is going to all go down. This all needs to flow. It all needs to flow into one another. Nothing can have an extremely sharp transition unless the bone is sharp in that transition, which is very rarely the case. Usually it's quite soft. There's only a couple of spots on the face that has that consistent sharp transition. I don't know what to do about the bottom part of this nose, and I think my issue is that I've become attached to the way the nose is drawn, and because of that I don't want to just paint over it. And this is a very common problem, I feel. So this, I'm going to try to sculpt it, but if I can't do it, I'm going to just start over with the nose. The nose has this, it follows there and then goes around. So it kind of does this. On a nose, you've got a nose. So see how I drew that nose as 3 balls, because essentially they are 3 individual spheres. Yep. Cool. So the nose shadow, nose kind of leads up like this, goes around, goes under a little bit. The nose shadow, if the light is coming on top, it follows these curves. So there's a sphere, then there's another sphere. So it changes angle. And then there's another sphere and it changes angle again because it's curving around in that direction. If I was to draw a wire mesh, there's this roundness to it. See? That's what I'm thinking about as I'm drawing this. Is its roundness. Which bits are furthest away from the light at any given time. I'm really lighting 3 spheres, essentially. There's going to be light here. Go quite quickly into shadow, because it is a sphere. There's going to be a little bit more darkness there, but not much. This is looking okay so far. It's looking okay. Believe in the me that believes in me, okay? And then we've got darkness here. Yep, a lot of zooming in and out. A lot of, again, I should be staying zoomed out, but I'm just not confident. And that is something I'm going to have to practice, is staying zoomed out and just being like, if this is a bad drawing, that's fine. That's okay. But I'm going to stay zoomed out, and that's my goal. That stuff is important. Should never be any lines. This is just should be a change in values. See that? Yeah. But it's not going to be a harsh change in values, as the light's hitting all of this stuff, these areas. In fact, it might not be, might even really be a line in there. Yeah. Okay. In the shadow areas, we're not going to see much of a difference in the values. They're all going to kind of bleed in together. So we might see some little bits and pieces different, but nothing major. And I'm going to get this value again. I'm going to light this area. This is going to be bright. This is going to be a big, bright area. I'm actually going to get some of this black, and I'm going to carve out the face. It's getting hard for me to focus. and which parts of the face are face and which are not. I'm going to do that. There we go. There we go. This chin, is it too big? It might be too big. That's okay. I will limit it slightly. Notice that even now I'm not doing a chin like that. There's contours to the face. There's a cheekbone. It goes into this muscle here, which comes out like that. And then there's chin. All right. I kind of want this to be a darker image in general. But I don't want to use complete black for the background, because if I wanted color in the background, even a really dark color, I shouldn't be using a black, because then no color will show up. So even if it's a very dark color that approaches black without ever getting there, that's fine. All right. Where does this turn away from the light? The light's here. I'm going to start turning about there. Start turning away. This is not all the same plane. And so this piece is probably going to be in shadow. Blend all this together. The smaller the brush is, the less even the blending will be. You really want to be doing it in as few strokes as you possibly can. Kind of like date night. You don't really want to put yourself out any more than you have to. Am I right, ladies? Okay. Yep. Out again. And you can see this is such a slow process. If you're not having fun with the character, if you're not invested in the character, this is going to be too batshit insane boring to even bother. You're not going to want to do it. And that's, you know, if you really want to create work, which you do, that's why you're drawing to begin with, you don't want that feeling. You want to avoid that feeling at all costs. And part of that, avoiding that feeling, is actually liking the character enough to draw him. Now, the lips are going to come down. Really, they should be coming down. Center of the eyes there. It should be coming down like that, coming down like there. All right? That's the corner. That's a corner. They're both black. I kind of like that. Maybe I should give him some weird markings. Maybe I should give him some weird markings. Maybe that would be cool. Things like weird markings are fun because they serve to actually show that the face has shape. You know, that it does, you know, this marking is going to follow the bone. And because of that, you get clear sense that this is in fact a round form or rounded form. I'm going to add that. I'm going to add it and I'm going to make it its own shade. And I'm going to do it because I don't care about this. I'm not invested in this drawing. This is again, this was meant to be the warm-up. But I'm just interested in making him kind of a masquerade character, I think. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. It's part of exploration. That's the important part of exploration. You don't know what you're doing, but you are not so invested that you can't experiment. So, the lips. Happy with the nose? It's all right. Okay. Good enough for now. I might return to it, I might not. Who knows? That is the magic of drawing. No art piece is ever finished. It's just finished when you decide you've had enough of doing it. So how long do I have until I have to go? Oh, I have to go pretty soon. All right. I'm going to remember this is all wrong. This is incorrect. It's straight up incorrect. The lip has to follow the face as well. And the face goes out and then in. If this is the center line, goes in like that, the lips should be there. The center of the lips should be there. What am I doing with my lips? Wouldn't you like to know? Let's fix this. I'm going to just block it out. Not good enough. Not happy with it. But I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it. Probably just going to paint it in. So if the center line of the nose goes like that, goes in, and then goes, there's that thing. This is the center of the lips. No. Whoops. This is the center of, no. Come on. Think through. Form. There. That's the center of the lips. So, lips. Also, essentially, a whole bunch of circles. Lips have corners. There's a, where's the spheres at? Where my spheres at? There's kind of three. There's this central bit here, which puffs out. It's its own bit. So you paint it like a sphere. There's this, which again is fleshy and round. And then there's this one. And the bottom lip, there's only two. One, two. There's a crease down the middle here. And it goes like that. And it just follows this form. See how it's all spherical? See how it changes like that? So that's what I need to think about. If the center of the lip is here, there is a shadow, and the shadow is going to be leaning towards this direction because the light source is that. I don't want to draw with lines. I don't want to draw with lines. I don't want to draw with lines. I'm saying this as much for you as I am for me, or the other way around. I'm saying this for me, okay? I want to touch in this shadow, because this is going to be quite a dark shadow where the two lips meet. There's no light getting in there. And then I want lips. His lips. This is hard. His lips are centers here. This is where the dip is. The dip in the lip. And it depends on how big you want them. He's a man, but he's kind of a prissy man, so I'm zooming in because I don't want to. I'm not going to make an excuse. I'm just zooming in. Okay. All right. No. So there's going to be a flat shade for the lips. That's probably not dark enough. This is like straight out away from the light, entirely away from the light. But it would receive some reflected light if there's other lights in the room or the space. If it's outside, it's definitely going to get reflected light. Okay, that's okay. It's not looking bad. It's not bad at all. I'm going to darken this piece even more. There are three of the darkest parts of the lips. Are going to be this piece, which is that center part, and these two corners. And then there's going to be just a light change. Now, which part's facing the most away? It's actually going to be all here. Yeah. No, I don't like that. This is rounded, so it's not all going to be the same shade. As we get lower, it's going to get a bit darker. This is not a perfect line. This is, the lips do not end on a perfect line. It's a soft transition. And the bottom lips are going to have this base value that's lighter than the top because of the reflected light, and because it's facing, like this plane is here. It's not down there. I'm not sure if that makes sense. A base value in there. Like that. Round lips. Dude's not going to have as poofy lips as a girl would. That's okay. But we do want him to have some, because lips is nice to have. All right. Now again, the center line is here, out there, there. Oh, I've gone off my center. I've gone off my center. Oh, Saber, my God, man. You, oh, wow. Wow. This dog just doesn't stop farting. Okay, again, imagine breaking down into song. I'm imagining this as two spheres, essentially. This is the bottom of the sphere. The whole bottom part of the bottom lip is going to be in shadow. And you're going to have some shadow from the cast from the top lip into the bottom. Mainly on this side, because that's mainly where the light is coming from. It's already looking a little bit more rounded. And then we are actually going to get some wetness on these lips. Now, because it's a dude, I'm probably not going to add as much as I would for the girl. But it is still going to be there. You know, light waits for no man nor woman. It doesn't change its attitude. It is the way it is. So it's going to do that light stuff regardless. There's going to be a shadow here because of the bottom of the, whatever you call that, the septum. Is that septum? No, that's not septum. This indent, anyway. Nope, I don't like that. That looks bad. All right, forget it. This is where you really do need to be working in broad strokes. I've already made the mistake of being zoomed in too much, and because of that, you can see it's just not consistent. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. All right. Now the light source is going to cast some there. There's going to be some light here. Light there. There's going to be some light on here as well. The difference between the darkness is probably too much here. Change that. I don't know. He's looking pretty prissy. I think his chin's too big. Now, his chin's too big now. That's an important thing to note. It's too big in context of the face that I've shifted for him. So I might actually cut his face out. Not in a serial killer way, more in a alteration of an artist choice. His face needs to... No, his face is too blocky. I don't think this guy, knowing a bit more about this guy as I do now, I don't think he has that blocky of a chin anyway. Give him a bit of plastic surgery. That's a little better. That's a bit better. Yeah, okay. But his whole face is too wide. But I want him to have a thinner face. All right, cool. Cool beans. All right, now bottom of this lip is going to be catching more shadow than I've given it. Okay, now other lines to know. In the shadow of the lip, actually this entire centerpiece should be there is, I completely forgot I was meant to be talking. Okay, so there is darkness, but then underneath there's actually a little bit of light under there. And this bit's going to be catching more light too. It's quite an effeminate looking man. And then there's also light just in here. I don't know why. I do not know why, but there is. And for that reason, I'm going to pop it in. Now look, it pops. It pops. It's like magic. It's magical. Fun times. All right. You do bounce around the image a little bit when you're drawing. I really should be working on this image more cohesively rather than working on piece by piece. But again, I wasn't planning on working on it right now at all. I was planning on warming up, and now we're here. You know, that's looking all right. That's looking more. It's looking pretty good. So zooming way out, how's it looking? Yeah, it's looking good. I want more darkness, I think. I want more darkness and shadows here. It'll emphasize his features and it'll round the shape out a lot more. It's actually kind of cool. That's actually kind of cool. I like that. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Happy accidents. I love happy accidents. Bob Ross with his happy accident idea. All right. Make this a piece like he's kind of a robot dude. He's kind of this either a robot or there's some kind of interesting fashion fad. So I'm going to draw the thinnest black line, imply that this is a tattoo or something, fashion statement. Yeah, yeah. All right. I like it. And I'm going to add another layer because I don't trust myself to not screw this up. There's going to be a shadow under the chin here because it is a rounded shape. It is turning away from the light. There's going to be a shadow here. Yeah. And there's going to be a shadow under the lip. It's a nice soft shadow under there. And there's going to be darkness there. Going to be a lot more darkness under this side here. And there. All right. I don't know how I'm going to round this out, but I will. I will. Okay. It's going to be light on the top of his chin here. Not going to be super bright light because it's a chin, it's not the eyes, it's not wet. So it's not going to be as bright as the eye highlights or the lip highlights, but it is going to be a highlight. And just introducing it. This is a sphere, the chin is a sphere as well. I'm sure you're aware of that at this point. Going well. It's going well. I'm happy. Now, the top of the nose here is actually going to be, you can add a highlight there if it's appropriate, especially with girls. I think it looks quite good to have a highlight there. I'm going to just highlight this ridge. Good. Now, I prefer just a little bit. Okay. Cool. I'm just gradually building up. That's too bright, this bit underneath the lip here. I have to bring that down, blend it in. Not bad. This is not bad. A lot of undoing. Should be more decisive with my actions. So a nice big brush. This is all facing away from the light. So it really should all be darker. That's not bad. That's not bad. Where's the light going to be facing? Okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with the hair. The hair is going to be its own thing. But what I'm going to do is put in some values. This bit's not going to be getting much light at all. This part of the hairline. There's going to be hair in front and all kinds of things. So this is going to be the chunk of hair that's actually in shadow there. I think that's going to be cool. All of this is in shadow. And it's pretty soft, this transition of the hairline. And you need more of this, just a couple of details. Just in, what would I call them? They're indicative. They indicate there's more there than there actually is. It's not going to be a solid line because hair, you know. So I don't like this. It's too perfect, and that's never a good sign. Just fix it up. Will be fixed, and it will be fixed eventually. There's going to be highlights all over the wazoo here, and it's going to be pretty intense highlights. I think I might block in the hair right now. I'm going to block in sections. In fact, right now I'm going to block it all in as one big thing. One big value to work with. Yep. That'll do, pig. And then with this, it's going to be... This is where the highlights are going to be. Our hair is going to change very quickly. Hair is it's going to be changing direction very quickly. So this is incorrect. That was bad. Hair should be following the head. So this is like this is all on the side. This is not attached directly to this line here, this part of the scalp. This is where the hair's sticking out past. So the direction I was doing it in is wrong. Hair is so hard and it takes so much work to make it look halfway decent. I'm gonna add some darkness here. This is going to be a plane change here. This is all one piece. And then this is going to be probably facing away from the light. And it very quickly goes into then goes into darkness back here. And darkness anywhere where there's hairs overlapping, there's hairs creating chunks. You really do want to create chunks when you're drawing hair. It just makes it so much easier to conceptualize shapes rather than individual strands of hair, which is just a nightmare. All right, I am going to stop. I'm going to get going. I've got some plans that I need to attend to. So if you check this out, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me with it. And I'm going to keep doing some more of these. So That'd be fun. Bye.